They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
A fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or?
From bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3. Yes and no. Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, doubled a 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above them do, doesn't it?
Welcome to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. And on this episode of the Bowls Hour, we're going to be reviewing the upcoming Champion of Champions events. And to help me with that, I've got Mr. Kevin Hickland here in the studio as well. How are you, Kev?
Yeah, good, thanks, Alex. And really looking forward, actually, to the Champion of Champions, because we traversed the country over 4 consecutive weekends. And I can say, from the deep south to the... and I'm looking forward to it, and the fields look pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I flicked them through a while ago. They're available on Bowls Hub as well. If anyone's interested, you just go to the results portal on Bowls Hub. We'll put them on the internet soon enough, I would imagine. But yeah, I thought so. We may as well start at the beginning. I've given you the fields, Kevin. I just want to pick your brain on some picks. So the beginning, the first one I think we should talk about is the Champion of Champion singles. For the listeners' information, it's been held at Bowls Hastings. It's the first one up, so it's from the 1st to the 3rd of July. So what do you think about the singles draw?
Well,
sections?
It's interesting, Alex, that... it's actually a very good field, and there might be a number of names in there which aren't your everyday names, but believe me, there's some players in there of really, really high calibre. One that I quickly see, Gordon Bond, now playing out of Tokoroa. Well, Gordon Bond played in Northland for many, many, many years, played out of Onirahi, and played with John Dunn, the great John Dunn, now living down in the Waikato and playing out of Tokoroa. Now, Gordon Bond is an exceptionally good draw player, really, really good. Then you've got David Clark, of course,
yes.
Well, we've seen David in the Bowls 3-5. Yeah, very accomplished player. John O'Shea from Tauranga, who this year had a clean-up, so to speak, in the Bay of Plenty, but was certainly right to the forefront in a number of centre events. And then coming down to the bottom, but it's interesting, Jimmy Pugh and Ricky Cook, who both, Jimmy Pugh, of course, representing Nelson, and Ricky Cook out of Christchurch. But, of course, both of these players played at the same era in the old Kitty Hawks under-21s and came through the age group, the age group groups. And both, Jimmy's been in the Nelson side, very strong Nelson side for a number of years. Ricky this year, I think, won an award as one of the most consistent, or the Canterbury Mail Player of the Year.
I remember seeing that pop up somewhere.
And don't disregard the former CEO of Bowls Canterbury, Adrian Robbins, playing out of Waimate, who I think he's won the singles there for about the last 3 or 4 years. So, and Bart Robinson from Helensvale. So really, there's a lot of names in there, really, Alex. If you look at, well, who are they sort of thing? But if you look a wee bit deeper, that's not the case at all, right?
Absolutely.
There's a number of very good players in there. And in the woman, the ever-consistent Linda Ralph, who from Carlton, who this year has won, along with Karen Hemer and Lisa Prideaux, have won all of the Auckland Champion and Champion Women's events.
We're going to see Carlton Cornwall pop up a little bit over the Champion
with the same names, all right? So Linda Ralph, of course, has done very, very well at national events in years gone by. Very, very good singles player. Beaten semi-finalist 2 years ago in the national singles. And, of course, Leanne Paulson, the very, very well-performed player out of the county's Manukau, part of the New Zealand development squad. And at present, of course, I think today, getting underway in the Australian Open.
Yes, that's right.
She's playing in that. And then coming further down into the southern area, the former New Zealand player, bronze medalist in 2014 in Glasgow, wife of Shannon McElroy, Amy McElroy, back in the fold again. And I know that Amy did very well in a couple of other events this year in the Nelson area. Winner of the champion and champion singles, former New Zealand player. Will certainly be, I think,
one of the top contenders.
Would be one of the top contenders. I suppose, the big things for some of these players, they may not have been that used to playing in the indoor environment, but I know last year being at Hastings, very, very good surface, good complex, and I'm sure these players will very, very quickly adapt to playing on that surface in Hastings. So,
yeah.
Good field, and am I right in saying that actually could still be a couple of more come in? Is that right?
Yes, I think the entries are still open. We understand that some champion of champion events, for a multitude of reasons, can be held a little bit later on in the season.
Yes,
so
they are. Well, Auckland just completed last week. They finished.
Yeah,
theirs,
that's
I
right.
think,
The last time was finished, so we're still taking things there. That was good. Thanks, Kev. I'm looking forward to following the singles. They'll be streaming there, of course, and updates like we usually do.
Yeah, well, just one thing with the streaming, yet to be confirmed, but I think it's been confirmed. We'll be embarking upon the streaming on a very similar fashion of what we did the Bowls 3-5 in Wellington. In the past with the champion and championship, literally just live streamed semi-final and finals.
Yeah.
We're now going to have like a dedicated TV rink.
Yes.
And we'll be taking a round by round right throughout from the start of play right through to the final. So we will have a feature game in all the champion events. We'll be playing a round by round game, and I would imagine that will be as they come up. They'll be notified on the Bowls New Zealand website of what these feature games are going to be.
Absolutely, because we want to get the largest amount of people on that TV rank, same as the Bowls 3-5,
it worked well really at Naenae. So
fantastic.
We're going to continue that trend.
Excellent, that's correct. Okay, well, that's the singles done and dusted, so we'll move on to the pairs, which we go from Hawke's Bay to Dunedin, which is a small trip. It's the next weekend, which is from the 8th to the 10th of July, and it's the Hopes at the Hopes Dunedin Lawn Bowl Stadium, the champion of champion pairs, Kev.
Yes, well, for those who are unaware, this has been quite a trying weekend because it's also the same weekend as the All Blacks play Ireland at Forsyth Bar Stadium. I'm fortunate. I've got accommodation at Middlemarch, so we're travelling out a bit, but that's fine. And of course, leading the field is last year's champion and champion pairs winners, the Carlton Cordwell combination of Leif Selby and James Williams, who won this event last year, and I watched them win the Auckland event earlier on this year, where they defeated Danny Delaney and David Motu. And just aside from that, I just think of all the players I've watched, I saw a young fella, put your name around this young fella, David Motu, from Auckland.
He's pretty good.
He's got ability, he's got class, he's got maturity for his young 14 years of age. He's got it all. He's certainly a name of the future, that's for sure. And then, of course, in Tauranga, again, John O'Shea pops up again, who, of course, is playing the champion singles, teaming up with Lance Tusker. Very strong combination. Yeah. As is the Hastings combination, Dean Drummond and Mara Glassy, who, of course, they're carpet players. Never forget, Rob Ashton's there, always a tough competitor. Morris Symes, of course, which will be his last event, representing a club in the Blenheim area, or the Marlborough area, because moving back to Taranaki. So I saw his farewell was just the other week. And the very, very well performed, sometimes sort of just goes under the lights a bit, not noticed, that Pat Houlihan and Connor Muir of Clyde. They've got a very, very good record, and of course they also are playing in the Australian Open as well. And a very, very good combination who always go, they're always there when the bells are ringing sort of thing. So, but again, if you look right around the field, there's Steve Bicknell, who we know about, Johnny Carruthers, Keith Slight of Wanganui.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done it all, hasn't he? So Roger Glendinning from South Canterbury. So, a good field in the men's pairs. Then in the women's, well, that's spearheaded by, again, I've got Carlton Cornwall, the
Deja Vu,
Karen Hema and her lead Lisa Prideaux, who, a very, very formidable combination. Of course, we know that Lisa was part of the New Zealand High Performance Program, has won 2 New Zealand pairs in out of the last 3 nationals. won the Peers twice with Val Smith and a beaten semi-finalist in the other year.
Yeah.
So very, very good, a good combination. As are in that grouping as well. In that group we've got again, the interesting combination there from Bay of Plenty, the Gail Melrose, Mary Campbell. Of course, Mary Campbell, former New Zealand player as well. And very, very good player. We know Gail Melrose as well, another very good player. And coming further down near the bottom of the country, so to speak, there's a number of names down there that and these, when they come out, that are sort of like unknown. They're Oamaru, Phoenix, Gail Douglas, Queenstown, Deborah Lloyd, Outram, Christine Bora, Invercargill, Glenys Paisley. Well, you know and I know, Alex, that there's a number of really, really, really good players there.
Yeah.
But then as we move up the South Island, I see that name Jo Edwards. Right?
She's won a couple of things.
She's won a couple of things. So Jo will be there, of course, representing the Nelson Bowling Club with her partner Kay Hammond. So again, very, very strong. Natasha Grimsell out of Hawke's Bay as well. Yeah, a carpet player. So in the women's, yes, I think, and of course Sarah Tokomo, who I forgot, winner of the New Zealand Mixed Pairs down in Central Otago, another very, very good player.
Absolutely.
So in the pairs, again, I think we've got really a good spread of ability.
Yeah. I suppose it's what you're expecting a Champion of Champions event, hey? You know, it's difficult to pick a clear favourite in anything like this because these players have won their club championship and they've won their centre Champion of Champions event to get here in the first place.
You know, if one goes back, for example, when we were doing the Bowls 3-5 and it sounds awful, I can't. Dobson.
Yes.
You know, we get to West Coast. And he is a very small centre, and we have got a club, the Dobson Club, who had a huge membership increase that went from 7 to 12. And so they won the West Coast Bowls 3-5. They then won the Regional Bowls 3-5. When it came down to the finals at Naenae, they were one shot away of being in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you take them easy at your peril, don't you?
Absolutely, and that's why I was saying the women's peers. There's that cluster, the bottom of the South Island, who may not be household names, but doesn't really mean
they've
anything.
made it here.
They've
Absolutely.
made it here.
I agree. Right, okay, so that's the pairs. I'm looking forward to that as well. Now we move on to the Champion of Champion Triples, which is a little bit further up the country. It's going to be held at the Naenae Bowling Club in that refurbished artificial from the 15th to the 17th of July. The triples, Kev, what are your picks there? What are the ones to look out for?
Well, I might be sort of sounding a bit patriotic, but the Taranaki team sticks out to me very much. The Paratutu team with Hamish Kape, Aidan Zitterstein, who will be representing the Cook Islands later on at the Commonwealth Games, and Kaylin Hulia, who was actually from Wanganui, isn't he? From Wanganui.
Yeah, and he's playing.
But he's playing at Paratutu, isn't he? That's a very, very strong side. But then just below that, of course, Ray Park. Now, if someone wants to have a look and see how many Wanganui titles Ray Park has won, they are up there in big numbers.
It's north of 50.
It is. It is north of 50. So, a top player. I see the Auckland side aren't in here, but I presume the Auckland side are going to be that. That's the side that Neil Fisher skip side out of the Howitt Club. Trevor Reeder from Carmo, always a good competitor, as of course the North Harbour representative Bart Robinson, who's been around a long time. Ross Ellery from the Manawatu, Gary Murawai from Martinborough. And then when we come down into the Nelson, we've got, for example, the unknown sort of crop up, the Pahara Bowling Club. When we look at the Stokes and the Nelsons and that, but here's this club from Paharia, they're in there. And I don't know, Cobden. I think Ethan Callagher wouldn't. The Callagher family are all involved in that West Coast side. And they've been a synonymous name, haven't they, on the West Coast? Ricky Cook, again, he's there representing the Elbourne Park with a very, very strong side as well. Kelvin Scott, Nathan Glasson. I just saw a photo recently at the Bowls Canterbury presentations, and by goodness, there was the Glasson got an award there this year, and he certainly had a vast array of trophies in front of him. So he's had a good year as the Canterbury representative, and with Kelvin Scott, Ricky Cook, that's a very strong combination. So, but of course, as we know in this event, Alex, you can the draw. We're playing multitudinal games. We get through the quarter final, don't we? I think.
Yeah, down to quarters. Yeah.
So it's not a knockout environment. Everybody's got a chance of winning a few games, and don't disregard another name from the past representing Gisborne East Coast from Tolaga Bay, Vern Marshall.
Yes.
Who was a very, very good in years gone by age group player, and very tenacious player as Vern. So another good field there. The women's triples, well.
Is Carlton Cornwall and the women's triples, Kev?
They're there again. I saw them beat the Balmoral combination in their final here in Auckland. They actually were quite convincing. Now, Thames Valley, Tairua, Jesse McCaw. Now, if players may not know who Jesse McCaw. Well, Jesse McCaw, of course, was a very, very good player out of the age group player as well, out of the Wellington region before moving up to the lovely Tairua. A good player. Raywin Willis from Mount Maunganui, always there when the bells are ringing.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Stamper of Taranaki. Well, everybody down in the southern part of the North Island knows about Kristen Stamper, and Diane Patterson from Wanganui, Tania Wheeler from the Wairarapa. Another well-performed player, as is Nina de Munich from Victoria, and of course in that side is Sarah, Sarah Tokomo is in that side as well. So. And look at that name again, Nelson, Joe Edwards, Colleen Earl, one of her lifelong friends, and Faye Wilkinson. So they'll certainly be a hard side to beat. And, of course, one of the always favourites, the Queenstown side, the Margaret O'Connor skip side. Well, Margaret's got would be one of the best performed, consistent players around the country, isn't she, at national events?
Oh, she's so hard to beat, Margaret.
Yeah, she's always there.
Always there, always sniffing.
So, certainly there's some big names there in that women's triples, but really, it's like as you rightly said, Alex, all these events, they're anybody's events.
I noticed that John Macbeth is playing the men's triples as well, Kev.
Oh,
on a different side.
No, my goodness. Sorry, representing Kapiti.
Yes,
with
I did. Neil Pritchard and Reg Gostin.
Yes. Now, I did get told that he had won that, and the Reg Gostin, of course, is a pretty handy bowler in the Kapiti region. So, get out and watch the great Macbeth.
We could get him to provide commentary from the
ringside commentary
from the ring.
He could do that.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind. So that's the triples. We're 3/4 of the way there, Kevin. We move back up where we started off. Back at Bowles Hastings is where the Champion of Champions event is going to finish up from the 22nd to the 24th of July, this one. Bowles Hastings, what are your picks?
Well, you're sitting right opposite me. And no, just go to your side, because I believe when you won the Auckland Champion Fours, you skipped the side, right?
Yes.
And that will continue?
Yes, that'll continue.
So, no doubt that side with Aidan in the side and Harry Davis and Colin Williams, very, very good side. And, I'm sure we'll be there when the bells are ringing. But in saying that, we've got Joshy Boyd from Kaikoura, representing Marlborough, another one of the very, very well-performed players. A bit of a past player, representing Riverhead, Steve Cox, of course, who played for Auckland for many, many years.
Yes.
And a very good Manurewa Kosi side, with David Clark skipping with Logan Clark, his son, and the well-performed Shane Drabble and Roger Andrew, a very, very good side. As is, the Adam Hayward, who skips the Thames from the Thames Bowling Club, Steve Liddington from the Waikato, and a man that you would know a lot of, the young fella from representing Bay of Plenty from the Tauranga South Club,
yes,
Anthony Quillette, who's certainly a well-performed player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's had a very good last few years as well, Anthony, on the outdoor scene. He's won, I think he might have 3 or 4 of the Bay of Plenty Senior titles now, and still just starting off. So, one to watch. And also, yet again, Alex, I've got to cast the warning to you to watch out for that Paratutu side of Darren Good and Roger Hassel, John Zitterstein, father of Aidan Zitterstein,
and Nathan Gooden. Like Darren Gooden has been the formidable skip in Taranaki for a long time. And just going back to Taranaki, one name that I forgot in the singles that to be wary of course, is Dean Elgar.
Yes.
Who I omitted to mention Dean Elgar earlier on. Well, we all know Dean Elgar's prowess as a singles player, won a national singles title, of course. Very, very, very good singles player. So he'll be another one of the leading contenders, one would think, at the singles. And one of the stalwarts, Barry Andrews of South Canterbury from the West End Club, and Timaru leading his side. So again, if we came down to a couple of favourites, I'd say in the fours, I've got to go with the Paratutu side, the Auckland side, and the county side. I would see as the leading contenders in the champion men's fours and the women. Well, that name comes up again. The Carlton Cornwall side of Karen Hema, Karen De Jong, Lisa Bordeaux, Linda Ralph. Like to win the 4 champion of champions events are pretty.
From one club and the same group of people, I would be interested. I'll have to have a look. I would be surprised if it's happened many times, if ever, in the Auckland Centre.
It's an outstanding achievement, and I suppose when you're coming to the Auckland Bowler of the Year,
good luck. You have to keep in mind with Auckland, we're not talking a small champion of champions field for that club to have come through.
Oh, no, not
You're
at all.
having like 15, 20, 25 entries, 25 clubs entering these champion of champion events.
Absolutely, there was. Yeah,
it's
there
not easy to do, and very impressive.
Well, as you know, it's played over, literally a knockout phase over 2 days.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you play a few rounds to get through to the final, don't you? So,
absolutely.
And of course, very strong North Harbour side with Lisa Dixon, Lauren Mills, Robin Walker, and Anne Doreen. Very, very, very good side. That's a good side. Now, again, I've got to go back to Paratutu, the Heather Johns skip side with Val Keatley and Carolyn Harris and Debbie Smith. Heather Johns, very, very well performed skip in the Taranaki region, as is from the Bowls Palmerston North, the Mary Fryer, who's been around leading in major events, has been a very formidable player. Tania Wheeler again, of course, the names there from the Wairarapa Centre. The Wellington side, the Johnsonville combination, I don't know. Don't know the players at all, so it'd be unfair to say anything one way or the other. But I suppose if we looked at the women's competition, the women's fours, and this you would have to really say that the side of the Takapuna side and the Carlton Cornwall side would certainly, and Paratutu's side, I just about put them as 3 of the contenders that one would think would, and of course, it's back to front here, but that's fine. The name Margaret O'Connor's there from Queenstown yet again, so that they will be hard to beat as well. And of course, in Queenstown, they do have the luxury, although it's not indoor, they play on an artificial surface.
Your artificial greens, which do play differently.
Yeah, they do. So they're well used to those surfaces, and Margaret O'Connor never goes into any event without many bowls under her belt because she plays a lot of bowls.
Always goes well.
I'm not sure whether Margaret O'Connor this year. I think she might be playing in the Australian Open. I
believe she is.
I think she may well be playing in the Australian Open. So, all in all, Alex, now with the Champion of Champions, the way how it's been played, and it's a message out there to all clubs, all centres, that the last 2 years have really seen a rejuvenation, haven't we, of the Champion of Champions?
Yes.
It was sort of a bit of a afterthought of event, so to speak, in some of the years gone by. But I think now we're in a situation where we're creating like the Bowls 3-5 and all the open events, and now you can win your club event, win your centre event, and then go forward to playing a national title, and you're playing a round-robin environment. So you've got,
Everyone's a chance. I just quickly wanted to mention, I think I saw Anne Lomas's name pop up in the Champion fours. I'll be interested to see how she goes. She's had a reasonable break, isn't it, Kev? Because she won, what did she win? A couple of world titles?
Oh, she did. And that famous at Moama, of course. Anne was in that great team where they Anne won like 2 world titles that year at Moama. Very, very, and played for New Zealand for a long, long time. Of course, played the Commonwealth Games, World Bowls. was the backbone of the county's representative women's side.
Yeah.
Then her and her husband Joe moved down to the South Island. They actually bought a camping ground down in the South Island, down around Timaru way, Oamaru, somewhere down around that way, and they've now retired, or sort of retired, up to the far north.
Yep.
And so Anne decided 2 seasons ago to pick up bowls again. So, Anne is certainly a very formidable international player, for a long, long time, and was recognised. I'm not sure she's in the Bowls Hall of Fame or not for her world titles. Could be. I'm not 100% sure.
I'd have to check the book.
But it's certainly been well recognised as one of our leading female players in New Zealand, and came through that era, with the Millie Kahns, the Marlene Castles, the Patsy Jorgensens, Sharon Sims, Joe Edwards just starting off. They were all in that era. And Anne Lomas was one of the backbone of that New Zealand team over those years.
It's cool to see some players coming back to the sport after breaks. I think that's one of the cool things about bowls. You can have a break, and as long as you can still, bend down on a grass green and let go of a bowl, it's always something you can come back to.
Though, Alex, I must say I did see part of the match of your final of the champion fours.
Yes.
And I'm not saying of the Point Chevalier side, but there was some bowls being delivered from some fairly great height.
They still got close to the jack, but
absolutely.
I'm pleased for the greenkeeper it was an artificial on that particular day.
I'm not saying that for a moment. I remember the late great Sonny Calder said to me, Sonny won the fours a number of years back playing with Morgan Moffat and Ken Watson, and they beat us in the semi-final at the Woolston Bowling Club, which is about to be rebuilt again.
Yes.
Very exciting development in Christchurch. And Sonny Calder always used to dump his bowl, but he had an upward dump on his bowl.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Sonny, and he said to me, young man, if you dump it the same way and the same every time, it's fine. And
fair enough too.
Because he went on one and was a very, very formidable player and coach in the Canterbury region for a long, long time. But the other thing I think what we're seeing now, you're right, Alex, about the players that coming back in. And from my point of view, like doing the commentary, I love getting around and seeing guys and ladies that you played with, against, whatever, a long, long time ago. And they're still there enjoying the sport. And it really, as you rightly said, it highlights what the sport is really all about, isn't it? Sure, we just had the Trans-Tasman, so we've got the highest level up there, and then we move down to the champions. Well, to a lot of these people from these smaller clubs, this is their international event.
Yeah.
And one can only but applaud it.
Absolutely. That's what I do enjoy about the Champion of Champion events, and I've enjoyed having this conversation, Kev. Thanks for your picks. We'll have to keep track of how close you got. I'll do my best to prove you right in the in the Champion of Champion fours. I'm sure my team will help me out. But it's much appreciated. We always enjoy having you on, and we'll look forward to hearing your voice again sometime soon.
Good. Thanks, Alex. And good luck for the National Indoor Bowls in Wellington next week.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. And we've spoken about the New Zealand Champion of Champion events, and shortly we're going to talk about the World Champion of Champion events with Chris Lander. But I thought firstly, thanks for coming on the show. But could you just sort of talk us through who you are and what your role is in Bowls New Zealand, please?
Hi, Alex. Yeah, thanks for including me today. Great to be part of this and to have the Bowls Hour up and running again. So, sure. Chris Lander has been with Bowls New Zealand since mid-2018. I came in originally to work on a BPL event, which was around about the end of April 2018. We hosted at Naenae. My introduction to the game in terms of administering it. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and was fortunate that our CEO, Mark Cameron, was looking for a permanent position for me, which I was delighted to pick up in about July, about 4 years ago exactly. And since then have been the General Manager of Clubs and Community for Bowls New Zealand, which is quite a long title, but essentially what that means is that I have oversight on everything to do with the grassroots game, and the rest of our team who are almost entirely dedicated to that space in some form or other. So, yeah, that's been my role for the last 4 years. Included in it is a lot of tournament management, people that have attended open events and intercenters and these sorts of things will be familiar with my name at least. And I hope their experience of me when they've met me is one that they are okay with.
The ones who you've handed out medals, I'm sure, have a positive, a positive view.
But over the last 3 or 4 years, we've worked pretty hard to make sure that the experience of those events, be they the singles pairs, fours, mixed pairs, open events, or the team events, the interclubs and intercenters, have been an experience for everyone that, that they have enjoyed, and always looking to improve on that, obviously. We've worked closely not only with players, but also with the clubs that host these things by having visits to them prior to events, with the business, with the BNPGA, the Greenpeace Association, to establish this practice around which venues we select to use, and that's just an opportunity to have a look at the greens, obviously, but also an opportunity for us to talk one-on-one with people that will be at the coalface during those events.
Yeah.
It's no mean feat, obviously, for some of them. It's a bit of a step up from just running a club or a centre event, and we want to take the angst out of that for them by having a pre-event chit-chat with them and reminding them that they know bowls as well or better than most of us. And, they'll do a great job as long as they can fall into line, if you like, with the bits and pieces that we need them to pick off to make sure the national event is delivered well. So those meetings have been really productive and have added value, I think, to those events over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And we continue to attempt to do exactly that as we push on with the coming season's events.
For sure. So before you worked for Bowls New Zealand, did you have a background and did you come from a sporting area, Chris?
Yeah, if you go a long way back, the sort of 80s and 90s, I was working for my dad in the textile industry, but got the bug for sport in the mid-90s and was lucky enough to end up with a role at Hickland Cricket in 1997, where I stayed for about 13 years, a couple of roles there. In an operational space. Really enjoyed that. First part of that, 7 years, was looking after the clubs of the Auckland region and managing their club competitions and their providing support to their club administration and basically anything to do with club cricket was landed on my desk first. So come full circle in that regard, I guess, with that at grassroots. So, it's my home, if you like. I was never a very flash cricketer or any other sport for that matter, but really enjoyed the club aspect of sport, and that's obviously where I've ended up now. So from there, we stood about 2011, and then spent a couple of years in Napier running a rugby club at the time with grassroots. Really enjoyed that. In the cricket side came calling again, and I spent a couple of years working on 2 events around the Cricket World Cup, both qualifier event and the Cricket World Cup event proper in 2015. Came out of that without a job, obviously. These are all contract roles, so you hard your mouth a wee bit as the clock ticks down on those events. Went back to Napier and had an interim role with Central District Cricket as their CEO for 15 months or thereabouts. Took me through till late 2017. And late 2016, big pardon. And then another cricket role, again, a contract role, which was around the Under-19 World Cup on New Zealand in January of 2018. And at the end of that, we came to Bowls. And Nathan was kind enough to suggest I might be able to help him with that BPL event. I was Wellington based and he wasn't. And we were hosting at Naenae, which hadn't had a big event at that point. There's a big roll of the dice with TV, cameras, etc.
Yeah.
And the experience in that space, I think, provided Mark with some confidence that we didn't need to have someone on the ground from Auckland at Naenae. And that went off very well, and the rest is history. Here I am.
Yeah, for sure. And you've just sort of touched on it then. So unless you've been hiding really well, I don't see you in the Auckland office all the time. Where do you base your role out of, Chris?
I'm working out of the Wairarapa Carterton, about an hour and 5 minutes, hour and 10 minutes from Wellington City by car. It's a lifestyle choice, I guess. Been living in Wellington up until a couple of years ago for 7 years, and enjoyed that, having been born and bred there, and then spending an awful lot of time in Auckland through my 20s, 30s, and 40s. But yeah, we moved to Wairarapa time almost today. June or something like that. We moved in here 2 years ago.
Well timed then.
Off the back of lockdown and all the rest of it. Actually bought the house the day after lockdown was released and moved in a week later, so it was all pretty bad.
Are you anywhere near a bowls club where you are, Chris?
Yeah, the Naenae Bowling Club. It's a short dog walk from home. And there's another 7 or 8 bowling clubs in the Wairarapa region. Couple of Master, or 3 at Masterton out of 2 venues, one further north in Ekatahuna, and then Featherston, Greytown and Martinborough all have a bowling club as well. So bowls is quite well patronised in this neck of the woods. Not a big population, obviously, and one of the smaller centres in the country, but they enjoy their bowls here, and they definitely punch above their weight at certain times as well. They were through to the business end of the Intercentre, the men's team last year. 2021, and 22 obviously, but in 21 in Wellington they were through to, I think, the semi-finals.
Yeah, I think they did get to the semis, yeah.
And it was pretty good effort for a little old centre with, I don't know where they got, 600 members or something like that. So they love their bowls here, and they've got a really nice climate to play in most of the time. Some good facility. A couple of artificial greens now, one at Carrington and one brand new one at Masterton Bowling Club, where there's a natural green as well, and an artificial green at the Masterton Park / Lansdowne Club, who share a venue in Queen Elizabeth Park. So, plenty of opportunity to play here. The season lasts until the usual time, and then goes again through the winter months with those artificial greens in pretty hot demand. So,
sounds like a good place to be a bowler.
Yeah, indeed. I'm quite graduated to a covered facility yet, but we're all in good time, perhaps.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, thanks for that background, Chris. Or I might slip into Crash because, of course, maybe we quickly cover that. You're sort of known as Crash around the place. How did your nickname come about?
So we talked about 1997 cricket role, and I was in the interview for that role with the then CEO, Lindsay Crockett, who had a very good friend in England who was my namesake, Chris Lander, and they called him Crash. So when I turned up for this interview, Lindsay said, Mr. Lander, they must call you Crash. And I said, no, they don't. But if you want to, that's fine. You have to give me the job. So he did. So I got the job and the nickname. And it stuck. And it's got nothing to do with my driving, I'm pleased to say. It's simply the run-on of the surname, Lander.
Yeah.
People Merthyr. And I think now there's a lot of people out there in Sportsland who really don't know that my first name is, which is fine. I'm not offended by it. I've had the nickname for 25 years, and it's one that's followed me through various roles over that time.
Yeah, well, if I accidentally call you Crash, if I accidentally call you Crash during the interview, that's why. It's what you're known as. So that's cool. So we'll segue now a little bit to the upcoming World Champion of Champions. So I had Kev Hickland in the studio a bit earlier, and we were talking about the National Champion of Champions events. And I remember that we are hosting a World Champion of Champions singles, I think. Could you talk us through a bit about what it is, please?
Yeah, sure. So the World Bowls Champion of Champions singles event is one that is generally held annually, although it's been in hiatus for a couple of years off the back of the COVID issues that have plagued the world. I think I'm right in saying the last time it was hosted was in Adelaide in 2019, maybe 2020. 19, I think. And we were approached by a little while ago, actually, by the Naenae Bowling Club, who were interested in being part of this event. They were looking to expand their profile, if you like, for the City Council's investment in that fantastic facility they have there. And we said to them that we were happy to get alongside them and work with them once the terms of reference came out from World Bowls on this event. And traditionally it's been awarded by World Bowls for consecutive years to the same venue. So in putting your hand up for it, you simply put your hand up for 2 consecutive years, which we have done.
Yeah.
And we were pleased that Naenae was still keen to be in the game. We decided that it was best that the application to World Bowls came from us rather than them. But they were very much a big partner in it, obviously, providing their facilities and very much being interested in ensuring that the events go ahead in the best possible conditions and in the facility that was capable of hosting it. We've been fortunate to have hosted various events over the last 4 or 5 years now. I think it is that the club has been rebuilt, and we know the venue well, we know the people well, and both service well. So we were delighted to be able to put together a proposal to World Bowls in conjunction with Naenae Bowling Club about, October of last year, which was duly accepted as being a preferred bidder.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we have worked with World Bowls to establish dates, which will be the second half of November this year and very similar dates next year, and to allow them to reach out to their member nations, of which there are some 130 or something that play bowls or have a bowls national organisation, so that we can acquire their present national champion. And I say that because in some cases the 2021 or 2022 champion has not been found due to COVID. So the current champion is the one that is given the opportunity to come to this event. And we were pleasantly surprised, having put together the bid. We felt that we might, in these difficult circumstances, end up with 18 to 20 men and 18 to 20 women playing in this thing. But when entries closed about a month ago, we were pleasantly surprised that 33 men and 24 women had put their hand up. So 57 players coming from elsewhere, 55 plus our 2, and Taylor Bruce and Kelvin Scott, both from Canterbury, who won in 2022 the national singles, women's and men's titles respectively. So they are our representatives for this event. But 55 others will join them in the middle of November, and we'll play across about a 6-day period to establish a world champion in both men's and women's singles.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. Really good.
That's cool.
It's part of our prize, if you like, singles event. And I guess you could say that winning it in a year where you're playing at home has pluses and minuses for Kelvin and Taylor. Nice to be playing at home, but sometimes nice to get the trip away, which Bowls New Zealand pay for in other years. So I guess they're not going to be disappointed with that, but it's perhaps if they enjoy it, great opportunity or a great motivator for them to win it again in a couple of years, perhaps get a trip somewhere more further afield. Go again.
And did you say we're having it for 2 years? Are we having it for 2 years? So we've got it this season, and it's been held next season as well?
Yes, we'll host it late November 2022 and 2023 at Naenae. And obviously can learn a bit from year one to make sure that it's even better. But we've got some good plans in place for this event. We think that it's going to be a really enjoyable event for all of the players that come. We've got good plans in place already around the logistical bits and pieces. We've got accommodation in place for them, obviously. We're working on the local transportation issues because, all of that is stressful for them if they're in a country they haven't visited before or a city they haven't visited before. So we want to take that pain out of it, give them a really nice, easy road in, if you like, pardon the pun, to the competition.
Will people be able to just come and watch Crash?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're certainly not selling tickets for it. We will be publicising the fact that it's happening, and we will be encouraging players to come and have a look. It's, hopefully getting towards the time of year in Wellington where the winds have died off a wee bit, the sun's starting to shine a bit stronger. We will be outdoors, weather permitting, for all of those 6 or 7 days. Yeah. Using all 3 of those Naenae greens, and obviously the stadium indoor green. There was a backup weather.
Good plan B, yeah.
not workable or unpleasant or whatever. So yeah, look, I think it's definitely going to be a spectacle and one that we will be pushing to everyone involved to come and have a look at least for a day or two, because the best players from every country in the world, based on performance in the last year or so, have got to be worth watching.
It seems like a pretty good deal as well. If there's not an entry fee, you can come down and watch 50 national champions play against each other. That's I'd be pretty keen. And remind us, what's the what format will they be playing in this event?
So
the games.
The teams will be in sections of 11 or 12. We're just waiting on the final sort of sign off from World Bowls on what we're proposing, but we expect there will be 2 sections of 12 for the women, the 24 teams, and in the men, 3 sections of 11. They will play a round robin, so 10 or 11 games each. So 2 sets of 9 games per set. And at the end of those 9 games or 10 games, whichever they're playing, or 11 games, they will establish their ranking order. They finish in the top 2 in the women, they'll end up in the semi-final. Although actually I think it's top 3. And the first one goes through to the final, and the other 2 play off second, third for the other place in the semi. So, does that make sense?
Yep, well, it made sense to me. That's close enough.
Played into a semi-final, second, third play off for the second semi-final place.
Yeah.
So for those 6. And a similar thing in the men's with 11s, but obviously the top in each will be the 3 teams, and then we'll establish another group to fill up those gaps. So it'll be the 3 second places and the best third or something like that will make up the numbers.
And with the
obviously we might get pull out, so we'll just wait until the final numbers look like before we do a draw.
Yeah, for sure.
But set play and straight through to those knockout games, knockout and then final, and all going home again within about 7 or 8 days for arriving.
That should make it quite exciting with the set play. You know, you're never out of it, are you? We found that with
right. We've seen that with Bowl 3-5, haven't we? Our sort of own set play position, and although 9 ends is a little longer than we've been used to here, I think there's still plenty of opportunity for people to claw their way back into it. If they've been hammered in set 1, they can still find a way back and have another crack. So that's been the format, I think, for a number of years. Certainly it's not something we've pushed to either establish or change. We'll do as we're told in that regard. That's been World Bowl's desire to play it in that format. So we will follow that. If anything comes out of year 1 that we think we can do better, we might make some suggestions. But in general terms, I think we just accept that is their competition and we're hosting it and we do as we're told.
Yep, fair enough too. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this episode, Crash or Chris, whichever one of the whichever name comes out. It's much appreciated, and thanks for giving us that insight as well into the World Champion of Champions event. I look forward to sort of seeing that happen. But
the only thing I would add to that is that there's some interesting countries being represented. I mean, there's the usual suspects, of course, being UK countries and Australia and Canada and a few others. But then if I go through the list, we've got outliers such as Falkland Islands, Zambia and Hong Kong and Jersey and Niue and Thailand and what else is that here? Namibia, Switzerland, Singapore, Zambia, Botswana, Kenya, Cyprus, United States of America, Botswana. So some real interesting places that these players are coming from. And clearly there will be some of those places that don't have a lot of bowls played, but fantastic to think that we've got, perhaps as many as 35 or 36 countries represented in the 57 players that are coming. So,
absolutely.
A good prospect. We're going to have to brush up on some of our body language, perhaps, because I'm not sure that all of them will have English as a first or even a second language. So we'll face that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Crash, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Alex.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bowls Hour, the show for all things bowls. If you enjoy listening to this podcast, remember to share it around. We can be found on Facebook every week from 7pm, as well as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, the Bowls New Zealand website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in later for more talk about everything bowls. Until then, roll on.
They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
Fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or?
From bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3. Yes and no. Yes and no. Paid off for them. They got a 2, double the 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above you do, doesn't it?